I spent 5 days walking from Rimini to San Marino. This is because I recently went through a job change and had 3 weeks where I was able to just go travel, so I went for Italy as my destination. San Marino is one of the places that I have seen online and just wanted to go to, and this was the right time of year to go there in comparison to other places that I would have wanted to go. I'm travelling at the end of March and beginning of April. When I looked up how to get to San Marino from flying in from Milan, it was a long train out to Rimini and then a bus to San Marino, but there's no way I was just going to get a bus to get there and just stay there. So I got the train out to Rimini and decided on having a 5-day hike through the hills and through the mountains of the Italian countryside to get to my destination of San Marino, and this made it more rewarding. My journey was full of pasta, coffee, pastries, and amazing views. Most of my bookings I made via booking.com just to give me some peace of mind at the end of the day, so that I knew that I would be able to sleep well and get some sort of food included. Day 1, 29.5 kilometers. I left the hotel, got my breakfast that was included, which consisted of a pastry and a coffee, and started out on my sunrise walk along the beach. This was a really relaxing way to start the journey, with just a flat walk and just watching the waves. At this point I was full of energy and I had fresh legs. I walked through a harbour. I saw a nice lighthouse, some big boats, and in the distance was some sort of church tower with what looked like San Marino behind it. I walked past a bridge which was glowing in the sunrise light and through a park which I assume is some sort of wetlands for where the river used to be. I walked across a bridge and started the river path. This is just a flat gravel path for kilometre after kilometre after kilometre. Not the most interesting thing to walk across, but I did constantly have views of San Marino. I saw a sign standing out on my right above the tree line, so I headed there to get pastries and a coffee, which was definitely going to fuel me for a bit longer. I walked past bridges, villages, castles, collapsed bridges, farmland, and also some sort of recycle centre where they had weird sculptures of things on the fence.
Up in here. I'm walking all the way along. We're here. I'm staying tonight somewhere here-ish.
As I got closer to Colombare, my final destination for today, I passed a park, refilled some water. I turned off into a small town called San Marino, where I demolished a pizza. Since I'm in Italy, I'm going to be eating lots of carbs, pasta and pizzas, just always. This one was a simple mushroom one. After a short digestive stroll around the town, I continued on the river path for the last few kilometres before arriving at my B&B for the night. Day 2, 22 kilometres. Today started out with me getting ready on the front porch before having a very filling breakfast full of pastries and pies, and then I headed straight uphill. I would be doing a lot more elevation than what I had yesterday. Within my first 3 kilometers, I'm climbing like 300 or 400 meters, so that's already 3 times as much as the whole of yesterday. I would be covering 930 meters of elevation today, and I would be starting off by going up to Castello Due Torri, which offered me views looking back to where I had come from the previous day and all around the surrounding area. I could probably actually see a lot of the places that I would be staying at, I just didn't know that yet. The road walking gave me good views, and I passed through a few little villages en route, and I passed by lots of wineries which had views looking out to San Marino in the distance. I passed by several signs that warned drivers about weather conditions. This is something that I was going to discover in a few days' time. My next little stop was the town of Montebello, which was a nice uphill walk and offered very picturesque scenes. I enjoyed staying here for a little bit of time. I said hi to a couple of mountain bikers who were riding around the area before I continued down and out of the town. I then went on a long gravel path where there were lots of trail runners.
Monte Matto, that's where I'm going.
This was part of the Camino de San Francisco, and I would be following it towards Monte Matto, which took me off the main gravel path and down smaller trails.
Made it to the top of Mount Matto.
These smaller trails got me very close to the mountainside and continuously offered me views. I had to do a little bit of scrambling at some point.
Oh lord, I didn't realise there's a little bit of a scramble on this. Okay, I'm going to need to put the camera down.
Just because the path was actually quite steep and big rain clouds rolling in behind me.
Now, I've been walking away from that most of the day, and I've been walking sort of into the sun, but the forecast was that it was meant to rain at some point at like 12 or 1. It's now 11:30 and the clouds behind me are starting to look a bit darker.
I only noticed these when I turned around to look at views. I passed by a church that had its bells going, and then I also heard some engines revving in the distance. They sounded like little motorbikes. A few corners later I could see that there was a motocross centre. This is where I decided to put on my very light rain jacket just as drops were starting to fall. I also covered my camera in plastic just because I don't want that to get wet. Fortunately this didn't last long, so I was able to do the last few kilometres along the roads with views of Montefotogno. This is a place that I'll be going to tomorrow. I was heading towards a place that I'm staying at for 2 nights, so the next day I will be doing a round loop as opposed to a point to point. I booked this in advance just because I didn't know how tired I would be feeling after a couple long days walking. As it turns out, I was pretty alright, and I was about to do my longest day yet. Day 3, 31 kilometers. Today I woke up and had breakfast while it was still dark out. My walk today started going towards Montefotogno, which was literally just across the valley, so it was only like 2 or 3 kilometers away. But this was a steep descent followed by a steep ascent. In the valley I crossed the river and went past some ruins of some buildings and crossed a bridge. The way up was steep, once again putting my footwear to the test.
That first couple of kilometres was quite hard. It took me just over an hour to do like 2.7k.
Montefotogno is definitely a place that I love to look at and use it as a reference point on my walk around. Here I decided to turn off the road and go along a trail. This wasn't my original plan on this bit, as the direction of the trail was a little bit longer, but I decided it would be more enjoyable. However, it quickly turned into a no-go.
I'm making a call to turn around because this is where the trail's meant to be, which obviously it isn't, so I'm turning around.
There had obviously been landslides in the region at some point, so I had to turn back after doing 3 kilometers on this trail. I then followed the road through the valley with views of Montefotogno in the background, which I just continuously kept turning around and looking at because, I mean, why wouldn't you? The next village that I'd passed through was Tornano. It's just another place where there's houses and things built up. The stone here really caught the light well and made it a very nice little place to walk through, especially since there was no one else around. I then saw one of the first signs that had a direction to San Marino before walking towards Perticarra, which is where I would make my lunch stop. This town had a nice little square and cafes around it. I sat down here to get my lunch and I asked if I could eat it outside, and they served it inside and then shouted at me for not going inside to eat it. I then followed signs back to Montefotogno on the Camino di San Vicinio. My route just involved a lot of different trails. I wasn't really following one in particular, I just picked out my route a few days before and just went with it. There was some very nice mountain lines in the scenery. These two I would be able to see from a lot of places that I was about to walk to. I then saw more signs that said Montefotogno, which meant I was actually going in the right direction. These paths would wind across the hilltops and offer me views that I just kept stopping for. There was also a brief threat of rain when clouds just rolled over the mountain tops.
I just had a look on my maps and I've been wondering what this big hill with the castle on top is. And I'm thinking it might be San Leo, which is where I'm going to be in 24 hours time.
The final few kilometres were nice and easy as the sun came back out. I passed by places that I'd recognised from yesterday, which definitely upped my spirits, along with the pasta that I'd had for lunch. Dinner at the B&B consisted of yet more pasta, sausage and tomato sauce, as well as different chopped vegetables. These are all things that the host went out and bought. As much as my cooking probably doesn't do the ingredients justice, these are good ingredients, so it was easily better than anything else I've ever made. I ended my day by eating dinner while watching a bit of Max Rogan. I do like his bikepacking tours. Day 4, 25.5 kilometers. This was the third day in a row with over 900 meters of elevation.
We are walking to San Leo today,
which I could see from the hilltops yesterday, and it literally looked like an old-fashioned fort perched on top of a rock. As I left, there were dogs that would greet me every day, and seeing this path in sunrise light as opposed to sunset was really pretty. Just the way the light carved out the landscape, it was just so nice to walk to. I followed the gravel path that I came along yesterday in the opposite direction.
Just there, the one with a little bit sticking out of it, I might crop in. That's San Leo, that's where I'm going.
And I turned off of it down into the valley towards San Leo. With where the sun was sitting, you couldn't exactly make out the town, but you could make out that silhouette of the fortress and the old bell tower. I tried to get a shot of me walking past this cute little chapel in Secchiano, but a car ruined it. I could have walked along the road across the bridge of San Leo,
but I'm going to the next bridge.
It also offered me a place to sit down and eat some of the homemade pie that the host had brought to me last night. I decided to do a little bit of the river walk, which led me back to Ponte Santa Maria Maddalena. The river walk offered a new perspective looking up at where I was heading to. As I ascended on this side of the valley, I passed by a farm, as well as more spectacular views looking at where I had just come from. I passed by a cute little church before heading on the trails and the roads up out of the village. I passed by yet more views, some cactuses, and then headed up through the woods to do the mountainside route. There were pine trees that surrounded me, and there were some that were fallen. This was a continuous thing going along the path. There were places where trees had just fallen over. I went up to Monte Gregorio and followed the trail back down, and I kept descending and I kept descending. This is where I was walking along La Via dei Cinque Santi. I remember walking up here feeling absolutely flat. Fortunately, I was about to see one of the best views of San Leo that I would see. This gave me a new lease of energy. And what did I do with that energy? I walked up another hill and sat down and had lunch while looking at San Leo. This was probably one of my favourite views of the trip. This was the view from Monte Severino.
That is an insane view.
And it was spectacular. I then began the very steep descent all the way down to the road. I could see the cross for the mountain top from the bottom.
So you might be able to see a cross on the top of the mountain up there. That's where I was for lunch. Very good view. I would love to go back.
And then I turned my attention forward to the big rock that is San Leo. The road up was on the opposite side, so I hadn't actually seen how I would get up the whole time.
Just walking up this road. It's the only road in and out of in and out of San Leo. But you know.
And before I checked into my place here, I did one lap of the island, as I'll call it, just to make sure that I see everywhere here, as I'm only here for a short time. It was strange seeing a place like this, in weather like this, just completely empty. From the viewpoint in the park, you could see the entire mountain range that I had just walked through. I realised to a lot of people these aren't mountains, these are probably just hills or gentle slopes, but from the top where the fort is you can see the town nestled in its surrounding landscape, and it's just a spectacular place to be. I also went back up here at sunset to eat some dinner that I got from the local shop, before looking at the view out of my B&B when I heard the old bell tower start ringing. Day 5, 24.8 kilometers. This was the final day. I'd be going to San Marino from here. It's been quite a journey already. I can't say I've ever walked this far consecutively every day. I guess this made itself apparent with how little I was actually talking to the camera here. I have a lot of videos of me babbling on about something to the camera, but at the start of today I don't have any. Leaving San Leo, I could always see it over my shoulder. It's just a spectacular place that just looks so unreal. There was a dirt path that gave me a very clear view of San Marino, so I wanted to set up and get this shot. I walked through several little villages, which all had their unique little blooms of flowers and views of the surrounding area. This is where things turned. I turned off the roads and into the trails, the overgrown trails. So I put on trousers. I didn't want to scratch my legs.
Just because I'd rather not end up with a million different scratches on my legs. I've already sort of got about 5 meters or 10 meters into it and turned around. Just because I thought this might be a more sensible option.
This is where I lost a jumper.
Yeah. This is much more comfortable. I'm just going to use the tripod to push these branches out of the way.
Because I put it on the outside of my backpack, and at the end of it, it wasn't there anymore, so I assumed it got nabbed by some trees. It's not the end of the world. This is why I go travelling with old clothes, because then if they get ruined, it doesn't matter.
I've already got further through this than what I did with shorts, so you know. Ow, I think that shows something.
This was a very
At least
slow
it offers
time.
shade.
I had to basically push through with my tripod, which would allow me space to crawl through. This eventually opened up to a small stream crossing, and then a larger river crossing.
My path is literally in the centre of screen there.
Which I had sort of anticipated, but it did say that there was a path through here, so I just kind of went through here. I found the most viable place for me to stone jump and went for it. After walking up out of the river valley, I walked uphill and decided that it was way too hot to leave the trousers on, so off they went. I was almost there now. There was just a couple more roads to walk down. And eventually, I walked into San Marino. This is the first time that I've walked into a new country. I briefly followed the Camino del Titano before heading towards the main mountains of San Marino and what it's known for. There was one main road that kept switching back, and I could cut through it in a couple of places where I'd be walking upstairs. I walked past a load of giant flags before making it to my lunch stop, where I would once again be loading on carbs. Here is where I noticed something on the menu: recipe de nonna, grandma's recipe. This is my theory that if it's grandma's recipe, she knows, and it's going to be good. And it was. Full of carbs, I started the ascent. During this ascent, I could really feel the pain of the last few days, and my legs were heavy, although that might have been my stomach full of carbs. This part was a slow and grueling uphill, but it was made worth it by the destination. I went to all 3 of the castles that mark the mountain tops of San Marino, and they were just spectacular. I stopped with this incredible view of the 3rd one, just because I had to get a picture of me standing here with it in the background.
Finally made it to San Marino. It's so beautiful here. I can't wait for tomorrow when it's going to be miserable, cold, sleety, stormy weather. But making the most of it this afternoon before I check in. And this place so far is just absolutely stunning. The castle on the top of the hill is just like, you see it from, I've seen it for days walking around, especially on the first day walking from Rimini to where I stayed first in Colombare. What a place. What a place.
I then walked over to the 3rd one before coming back down through the city and getting a takeout pizza en route that I would be eating in my hotel room. I was done for the day. I was very much exhausted. It had been very much worth it. But tomorrow there was a little bit of a surprise in store for me.